Welcome back to the podcast, as Poland have now officially started their 2026 World Cup qualifying run. The first few matches are behind us now, and let's just say that, there's definitely stuff to talk about. That's putting it lightly. You know, there's some good and some not so good. But before we get into all of that, though, just a quick heads up. This episode, I know it's a little late, maybe more than a little, but because I just got back from like a month-long trip to Southeast Asia, it is what it is. And, well, to make matters worse, the hotel that I was staying at had, to put it lightly, absolutely brutal Wi-Fi. Like, we're talking 15 minutes just to send a tweet kinda bad. So, yeah, forget about streaming games or even trying to find a bar down there that had Poland matches on TV. Long story short, I wasn't able to watch the games live. Bit of a bummer, but it's not the end of the world either, since, the opponents were Lithuania and Malta. So, yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Still, let's get into it. Alright, let's talk about the call-ups themselves. As for the March camp, Michał Probias called up 25 players in total. Goalkeeper-wise, we had Skorupski, Buka, Mrozek, and Drągowski. No big surprises here. Skorupski and Buka were our main guys in the Nations League, so it's no shock to see them again here. Skorupski has now even been officially declared as Poland's number one, which, honestly, fair enough. Each game he played in the Nations League, he was always, for the most part, our strongest element, and would pretty much pull off some wild saves too. Same goes for his performances for Bologna in both the Serie A and the Champions League given, so yeah, the guy isn't perfect, but he's very much a quality keeper, and at the moment, it's safe to say that he's the best that Poland currently has available to it. Now, right, also some people might raise an eyebrow at Mrozek and Drągowski being included over the likes of Grabara or Majecki. And I get that, but personally, I think we're okay in the goalkeeper department. If anything, I think we're more than okay there as compared to the other positions on the team. And well, the goalkeeping staff have really taken a liking to Mrozek. And yeah, it's good to have at least one Ekstraklasa goalkeeper in the national team setup. As for Drągowski, well, he's got 10 clean sheets in the league this season for Panathinaikos. More than Grabara and Majecki combined. So yeah, no complaints from me with him being included. The defense, well, it's pretty standard. You got Bednarek, Kaś, Beresinski, Dawidowic, Kiwior, Piątkowski, Walukiewicz, and Wietecka. All names you'd really expect to see. And honestly, we don't have a ton of defenders in good form right now anyway. So if you're someone complaining that it's the same old faces again, you're probably the same person who was complaining before, not too long ago, that there's no stability, that Probias is always including new faces every single camp, yada yada, and well, yeah, you got what you wanted. And besides, it's not like that's a bad thing either. Yeah, we have some consistency there now, and that's a win in my book. The only real surprise was seeing Sipsak being left out initially, especially since he was solid for Jagiellonia and had been called up the last time before being injured. Thankfully, he did get added on later to replace the injured Walukiewicz, and yeah, I get why he wasn't on the first list. Yeah, like coaches tend to favor regulars from top leagues over Ekstraklasa players. It's kind of logical in that sense, but still, I like saying the more Ekstraklasa players on the list, I like. Now, Davidovic, for example, he's not exactly a fan favorite, but he's a co-captain at a Serie A club and plays week in and week out. And we don't exactly have many players that can say the same in defense. And of course, it's good to see Matty Cash back as well after being plagued with injuries last year, and pretty much every single training camp he was always out with some kind of injury, whether it be ankle or calf, so good to see him back. Moving on to midfield, we got Bogus, Frankowski, Kaminski, Moder, Piotrowski, Slis, Szymanski, Urbański, and Zalewski. Now, Zielinski was injured, so he wasn't included, and then afterwards, Zalewski ended up also missing out as well due to injury, so Marczuk got called up in his place. And again, it's nothing shocking here. Maybe some surprise at Bogus being included on the list, considering his move to Mexico and his rough Nations League performances, but Probies seems to be willing to give him another chance, and that's the right call in my opinion. Complain about his move to Mexico being all about the money all you want. The guy is talented, young, and promising. 3 qualities that we need more of in this squad. Up top, we got Lewandowski, Swiderski, Piontek, and Buksa. No surprises here either. It's not like we've got an abundance of informed strikers. I mean, sure, Oscar Zawada has 9 goals in 24 league games in the Eredivisie, but he's also been on a bit of a goal slump lately, and at 29 years old, he's not really the future. And while everyone wants Probies to focus on the younger guys, and Zawada, he ain't that. And that's just it, as the main criticism of this squad has been the apparent lack of youth. And aside from Urbański, there weren't many young players in this camp. Actually, none at all. Even Lewandowski commented on this, which went somewhat viral. But at the same time, I wouldn't stress too much about it. As with the under-21 Euros coming up this summer, it's important to keep the younger players together, and under-21 coach Adam Majewski even requested that Probies avoid calling up his players for this very reason. And while Probies, having coached under-21s himself before, he understands and respects this. Plus, let's be honest, our young talent pool isn't exactly lighting it up right now either, as there are already some very real concerns about the under-21s potentially struggling at that tournament. So better let them develop where they are, and if they do well in the tournament and surprise everyone, then perfect. Even better for the senior squad. So I don't see a reason to force them into the senior national team at the moment, especially to play against the likes of Lithuania and Malta. Our current crop of players should and can handle those teams, and there's no need to hurt the under-21 side as they prepare for their first major tournament in ages. I mean, after the under-21 Euros this summer, then sure, we'll grab any real talent from that squad that we can. But right now, nah. And as for the lack of Ekstraklasa players in the national team right now, well, that's a broader issue. As top clubs like Kraków, Lech, Jagiellonia, and Legia rely heavily on foreigners. And the Polish players that do feature there are often not the top performers either. Like, how do I put this? Bartosz Kapustka being the league's top Polish scorer with 10 goals, and he's not even a striker either. I mean, that says a lot. And players like Kozubal also have recently admitted that they don't feel like they deserve of a call-up based on their current form. So suffice to say, Probies didn't exactly have much to work with for this March window. Alright, well let's talk about the games themselves. Even though I didn't get to watch the games live, so we'll have to keep this section somewhat brief. But hey, the results speak for themselves. As Poland came away with 2 wins, 1-0 against Lithuania and a 2-0 victory over Malta. That's 6 points total in the bag. Not too bad. First up, Lithuania. Yes, we won, but at the same time, let's also be honest here, it wasn't a convincing performance based on everything I heard. As playing at home in front of our fans against a side ranked 142nd in the world, I mean, you'd expect more than a single goal, right? I mean, yeah, sure, it's 3 points and we dominated the possession. But at the same time, the team looked flat. The creativity was lacking, and the finishing was horrid. Yeah, Lewandowski got the lone goal, but at the same time, it wasn't his best or most confident strike. So while we did have solid control, we still lacked sharpness in the final third. And Probius will definitely want more cohesion and urgency moving forward, as this match just wasn't it. Fortunately, there was the Malta game right after, and this one, things were better. Not only a 2-0 win, but also more control, more movement, more confidence. Yeah, it's still nothing to write home about, but at least there were signs of chemistry and rhythm. A brace from Świderski wrapped this one up for us, which is great to see both stat-wise and for his own confidence as a striker too. But overall, I still can't say that these performances filled anyone with confidence. And yeah, I know I keep repeating this word a lot. Confidence. But it's true when it comes to the Białe-Czerwoni. It also doesn't help that Cash suffered yet another injury. Even if it was minor, it did keep him out of the starting 11 in the Malta match. Meanwhile, guys like Piotrowski against Lithuania and Frankowski in both outings who, well, they both play well for their clubs, had weak showings in this international window. So, suffice to say, our attack was rather disappointing. But then again, on the bright side, at least our defense kept 2 clean sheets in a row, which is worth highlighting in my opinion, given how they were conceding goals like it was going out of fashion in the Nations League. So, gotta give props where it's due. But yeah, anyway, there's also the issue with Krzypczak and Urbański, who didn't play at all in either of these games. With Krzypczak, it was probably the nerves. I mean, it was his first senior camp, and he may have not looked all that convincing in training. And honestly, yeah, I don't blame Probius for not wanting to gamble on him, as if a guy from the Ekstraklasa isn't performing even in practice, you're not gonna bench someone playing regularly in a top league for him. Hopefully, it was a good learning experience, and next time he comes in stronger, as, again, he is talented. As for Urbański, no clue what's going on there, but it's not good. He's completely fallen off at Monza, the worst team in Serie A, and he went from playing full 90s every week to now just riding the bench there. And I can only assume that he brought that bad form from Italy with him to the national camp. Plus, it's also worth remembering that just because you're called up to the national team doesn't guarantee that you'll be playing. Sometimes the coach just wants to take a closer look. And I think that's exactly what happened with Probius and Urbański, as, like all of us, he was probably confused why Urbański suddenly wasn't playing in Monza. And, well, he wanted to see for himself why. I'm sure he saw during the practice, hence no minutes for Urbański in either of these games. Plus, let's be real here too, it'd be super weird if Urbański played for Poland, yet he couldn't get off the bench for the worst team in Serie A. Whatever's going on there with him, whether it's physical, mental, or both, I hope he sorts it out soon. because at his age, he needs to be playing regularly. That was the whole point of his loan from Bologna in the first place to Monza, but now he's not even doing that. And if it weren't for Probius, he likely wouldn't have had been called up at all, as not even the under-21s are interested in him right now based on his current form. So Urbański, please get it together. Now, despite all the negatives that we talked about, Poland still came out of this international window with 6 points and sits at the top of Group G. Sure, neither game was a goal fest, but we're coming off a rather rough Nations League campaign, dealing with injuries to key players like Zielinski and Zalewski, and yet we still got the job done. 2 wins, 2 clean sheets, dominated both matches in every stat. That's what matters, the results. And besides, hey, you never know with these small teams either. As, lo and behold, Lithuania even came back from being down 2-0 against Finland and finished that match 2-2. Pretty wild. So yeah, I know it's not ideal, and maybe I'm being a little less harsh than I normally would have been if I had watched the games live. But at the end of the day, what can I say? 2 wins are 2 wins. It's 6 points, exactly what we needed to kick off qualifying. Now, looking ahead, the real tests will come later, as the away games are, well, they're always tougher than the ones at home. And now that we also know that the Netherlands will be one of our group opponents after they got knocked out of the Nations League quarterfinals by Spain, then things get even more serious. Hopefully, Poland will get more time to click this summer, especially with that friendly coming up against Moldova in June, as that rematch will be huge, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that we have to win that one, no excuses. Even if it is a friendly, the team and Probius all know what's on the line there. Same goes for Finland right after too. And they've looked even sloppier in defense than we have, so yeah, we're gonna need to take advantage of that just like Lithuania did. And of course, we'll also be keeping an eye on the under-21 Euros. Not just because we want Poland to do well, but to watch out also for any standout young players who could make the jump to the senior squad right after in the fall. Right when we do face the Netherlands too. Alright, well, that's a wrap from me for now. Fingers also crossed for both Legia and Jaga as they take on Chelsea and Real Betis in the Conference League quarterfinal first leg. As let's hope they make Polish football and the Ekstraklasa proud. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.